Okay, when we were down 21-0, how many of you thought we were just going to get the crap kicked out of us? And we had a lot of hands go up.
Kim Dameron and the Southside Mavericks with a gutsy rally down 21 points. Over in Alma, the Van Buren Pointers also stage a comeback in the Battle of the Bone. In Northwest Arkansas, the Bentonville Tigers drop a close one in overtime to Tulsa Union, and Greenwood rolls by Bentonville West. We'll talk about it and more in this week's Prep Rally.
You're watching the Prep Rally Podcast.
Welcome to the Prep Rally Podcast. Graham Thomas here in Northwest Arkansas, and Leland Barclay is in the River Valley. Our man Rick Fires is out this week, and we'll look forward to having him back next week. Leland, how are things in the River Valley this morning?
Not as warm as last week, but I'll still take it.
Yeah, really nice up here. It feels like football weather to me when I walked out the side this morning to take my daughter to school. About 60-something degrees, a little crisp in the air, and when you get there, you know it's football season.
Absolutely, it's we don't just wade into football season. We jump right in.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, it was an exciting week 0 for high school football. Exciting may not even be a good word. I mean, there were just some fantastic football games. A lot of really nice comebacks by teams in this area in Northwest Arkansas and the River Valley. I think we could devote an entire podcast to some of these games, several of which we're going to mention in today's episode. So, with that in mind, we're going to jump right into the Gimme 5 in the River Valley, and Leland, we'll turn it over to you.
Well, these are the top 5 performances from last week in the River Valley, and it was hard to narrow it down to 5. But what wasn't hard to do was number 1, and of course, it's great that Van Buren and Alma, Northside and Southside, are on different nights. Both of them had great comebacks. They're the biggest rivals in the River Valley. But number 1 has to be the Southside Mavericks, because mathematically they came from a 21-point deficit 12 minutes into the game. Lucas Calderero returned a interception, 38 yards for a touchdown to put Northside up 21-0, 9:44 left before halftime. Southside rallied, got within 21-20, and then in the third quarter, a couple of big defensive plays, and Southside was able to pull out the win 34-27. They were even down 27-20. Southside was in the third quarter. Lee Prince intercepted a pass. Southside was able to score. Then they recorded a 3-and-out, and Southside went up 34-27. Just a great game by Southside's defense and really offense. The defense held Northside on the Grizzlies' last 7 possessions.
Isn't that amazing?
For 1 first down.
Wow.
And then, of course, Jaden Webb, 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, 52 yards and 21 yards. The last one is the one that put Southside up 34-27. And then Blake Forsgren getting his first varsity start, 15 of 24 for 182 yards and 3 touchdowns, all to Russell Key.
And he was our player. And he was our player of the week this week, Leland. And that's, the numbers don't pop out at you, but when you rally from a 21-0 deficit, making your first varsity start, that was an easy decision on our staff's part for player of the week.
Well, especially, he's first varsity start, Battle of Rogers Avenue, second quarter early. Southside's already down 14-0. He throws a pick 6, but then rallied, brings his team back to the win. And I thought the headline said it best about Southside on Friday night. They were down, but not out. And then, of course, number 2, the Van Buren Pointers, another rally. And while Southside's may have been a little bigger mathematically, Van Buren's was much bigger, I guess, dramatically. Alma just really dominated the game for 3 quarters, but they were only up, the Airedales were only up 27-17 going into the fourth quarter. And again, it was a defensive play They kind of got Van Buren going. Van Buren got within 27 to 24, and a big defensive stop. They were able to come down and score and take a 34-27 lead with 26 seconds left. And then Hayden Webb with a pick six to kind of seal it. But there were three huge plays in that sequence. Alma had 4th and 2 driving with the lead. Van Buren made the big stop on Jace Ponder, made the stop. And then Van Buren had a second down at the 26-yard line. And Hayden Williford hit Austin Riggs, who took it down to the 3-yard line. And on the next play, Cameron Keller scored and put Van Buren up. And then, of course, the pick six. So some huge plays there late. That was 20 points in the last 6 minutes for Van Buren to rally to that win.
And just amazing. Like I said, entire podcast on these two games alone.
Oh, absolutely. We could talk, in fact, it was great being able to devote a full page in Sunday's River Valley Democrat-Gazette to the Southside win, and then a full page also to Van Buren's win. Like I said, the two biggest rivalry games in the River Valley, both played back-to-back nights, opening week of high school football, and dramatic, just great rallies by both teams. And then number 3, like you said earlier, Greenwood, 70-35 on the road in the season opener. Greenwood had 11 offensive possessions in the game, scored on 9 of them, and then Champ Davis returned a kickoff 83 yards for a touchdown for a big win for the Greenwood Bulldogs. Kane Archer, 3 touchdown passes, one each to Cooper Bland, and then Carnes and Grant Carnes and Isaiah Arrington, and then 3 touchdowns by Wesley Raggio, 6 touchdowns on the ground, 3 through the air for Kane Archer, and the Greenwood offense is rolling early. And then number 4, the Waldron Bulldogs ended a 17-game losing streak with a 27-21 win over Paris at home. Eli Cluth with a 1-yard run on 4th down in overtime, and then Waldron's defense held Paris on their possession. A big 3rd down sack by Garrett Morse for a loss of 14 yards. Kind of helped seal that one. So, and Waldron was coming off a narrow win in their scrimmage with a 2-point conversion over DeQueen. So Waldron's off to a good start, snapped that 17-game losing streak, and they'll move on now. Number 5, another team. Last year, Cedarville Pirates had 1 win last year. Well, they've already matched that with a 14-0 shutout win over Magazine. Chasen Oden with 2 long touchdown passes to Reed Payton of 56 and 64 yards. And then on top of that, the defense tossed a shutout. So that's the top 5 performances in the River Valley for the past week.
All right. Definitely a lot of really good stuff there, Leland. And we have some video clips we'd like to show you from the Northside Southside game and the Van Buren Alma game. We're going to go into our River Valley sports report for the week. And Leland, there's a lot of good stuff coming up this week, and we'll just let you tell us what's going on in the River Valley.
Well, of course, football season, another big rivalry game on Thursday night in Oklahoma. Biro visits Panama. That's their both teams' season opener. Big rivalry game as well in LaFleur County. And then last week, two teams that have very high expectations this year, the Pecola Indians scored 64 points in their opener on Friday night. The Salisaw Black Diamonds also high expectations this year with a home win against Pryor. And then, of course, cross country's going on and golf's going on. But the biggest thing going on next week in LaFleur County is in Oklahoma is the LaFleur County Fast Pitch Softball Tournament, Monday through Thursday. Pecola is off to a 13-0 start. They earned the number 1 seed. Whitesboro's off to a great start. They're the number 2 seed. Poto's only 8-6, and they're the number 3 seed. And Poto is the team that ended Pecola's 6-year winning streak in the LaFleur County tournament last year. So it'll be interesting to see how that one turns out. Pecola this year is wearing a big target on the back of their T-shirts. Of course, not in game play, but in their warm-up shirts, they have a big target on the back because, everybody in the county shooting for them, and they're off to a 13-0 start and the top seed. So a lot of stuff going on in the River Valley, and look forward to some big games also on Friday night in football.
Well, I enjoyed that at Media Day. We had those softball teams there talking with them. I mean, they're, the Pecola and the teams that are there, they take that stuff seriously. It's a little different fast pitch in the fall. In Arkansas, we're used to it being in the spring, but they get after it there in the fall.
Oh, absolutely.
So, yeah, speaking of some of those football games in the River Valley, so we got Northside at Greenwood. Springdale's coming to Van Buren. You're going to be Ozark at Booneville. And, those are 3 games that I would like to be at myself.
And then, of course, the battle for the treasure chest trophy, the Battle of North Crawford County, Mountainburg and Cedarville.
Yep. I've never been to a game at Mountainburg or at Cedarville, but I can imagine if you're going to go to one, that's the one to go to every year.
Absolutely. That's the big one in North Crawford County for sure.
All right. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we will go to the Northwest Arkansas Top 5 and then the Northwest Arkansas Sports Report. This is Prep Rally.
If you're enjoying this podcast, consider a newspaper subscription to the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette or the River Valley Democrat-Gazette. We have a special offer for our podcast listeners, so visit nwaonline.com/NWA podcast to get started. You can also click the subscribe button on our websites, nwaonline.com and rivervalleydemocratgazette.com. Or call us at 479-684-5509 and be sure to say that you're a podcast listener. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to the Prep Rally Podcast. I'm Graham Thomas, joined in the River Valley by Leland Barclay. Rick Fires isn't with us this week, and we'll be happy to have him back next week. So we're going to jump right into the top 5 for Northwest Arkansas. And, Leland, I'm going to start out. It's something I know you'll appreciate. The Springdale High football program has done a lot of renovation work over at Gerald Williams Bulldog Stadium here lately. And on last Friday night when they hosted Little Rock Central, another storied program, they had a rededication ceremony, and our guy Scotty Bordelon was there and had a nice write-up about the game, and even talked to Coach Williams in the in his story. And Springdale got a big win over Little Rock Central to open the season 1-0, and so that's number one for sure. That the rededication of Gerald Williams Bulldog Stadium. Springdale football means so much to just about everybody up here in Northwest Arkansas, and when the Bulldogs are winning, it's always a good thing. Number 2, I'm going to go to my man Griffin Mason from Shiloh Christian. And Griffin was kind of the backup guy to Bo Williams last year at Shiloh Christian, and Bo was certainly a great running back. Was the Northwest Arkansas Democrat-Gazette's Offensive Player of the Year. Well, Griffin showed he's pretty good too in a 48-6 win against Farmington on Friday night. Griffin had 212 total yards of offense, 11 carries for 142 yards, took up the big chunk of that. But on the first play of the game, he threw a 70-yard touchdown pass to Zane Slider as Shiloh Christian rolled over Farmington in head coach Tommy Tice's coaching debut. Not a big surprise there that Shiloh won, but good job by Griffin. We know he's going to be a factor for the Saints as they move forward. I was at Bentonville and saw the Tigers host Tulsa Union, and man, what a ball game! Union wins it 42-35 in overtime. You got to give Union a lot of credit. They led 14-0 early, 21-14 at halftime. Bentonville came, storming back and took the lead 35-28 and had a chance to really put Union away and couldn't do it. Union scored with 21 seconds left to tie the game, and then Bentonville won the toss in overtime and elected to go on defense. Union scored and then held Bentonville out of the end zone for the 42-35 lead. But I think the Tigers learned that, if they can play with Tulsa Union, they can play with just about anyone. Number 4, I'm going with Fayetteville making the long trip over to Cabot and had quite a bit of adversity to deal with over there. They got into a weather delay, and, as Coach Casey Dick talked to me about this morning, you get into a weather delay, you don't really know how you're going to respond to that. That's not something you practice or simulate, and you just have to kind of roll with the punches as it goes. They were delayed and inside the Cabot basketball arena for a while, and then had to move the kids back to the locker room. And finally, they got to go back out and finish the game. And the Purple Bulldogs certainly responded the way he had hoped they would. And last, and certainly not least, on the top 5, I'm going to go with the Siloam Springs Panthers snapping a 27-game losing streak with a 17-7 win at Rogers Heritage on Friday night. A lot of people in the community really happy for Siloam Springs to get that monkey off their back. That's tough when you get into it, and we've seen several teams over the years fall into stuff like that. Mountain Home comes to mind. You mentioned Waldron. Little Rock Central's in it right now. But here in Northwest Arkansas, Coach Doug Lockridge has kind of got a fire lit under the Panthers, and they got a big win on last Friday night. So we have some clips that we can play here from the Bentonville West Greenwood game and from the Tulsa Union Bentonville game.
Pass is complete from Kane Archer to number 0.
We're going to go to the Northwest Arkansas Sports Report, and I just wanted to check in with Leland on the real quick on the top 5 there. Did you have anything you wanted to say about anything you read about or heard about from what happened up in Northwest Arkansas this week?
Well, and I'll wait on most of that until we get into our picks because, I think, is there 8 games I think we're picking? And to me, just about all 8 of them are toss-ups. So it'll be very interesting. And like you said, Springdale put up 49 points. Who would have thought early in the season that Springdale and Van Buren in that game Friday night would both be 1-0.
Very true.
And then also, we mentioned Waldron and Cedarville, and I think one of the biggest stories up there has to be Siloam Springs and Coach Doug Lockridge and breaking their losing streak as well.
Yes. This week in Northwest Arkansas, it's always a big week for high school volleyball up here. I know on Tuesday night, we've got some big games, and on Thursday, it's another big night for volleyball, and the golf and the tennis is off today on Tuesday, but they'll kick it back up. I think everybody's just kind of taking an extra day for Labor Day. And then on the football front this week, we've got a lot of good games here. Just like you guys had, the one that really jumps out, or 2 of them, are Cabot is making the trip up to Bentonville West, and Bentonville West is going to have to respond here a little bit. I don't think anybody would fault them for losing to Greenwood. They gave up a lot of points to Greenwood. I know they'll look to be a lot better defensively this week when they host the Cabot Panthers. Another one to keep your eye on, Leland, is Muskogee, Oklahoma at Rogers. Muskogee is the Oklahoma Class 6A Division II champion, state champion from last year. And you know how they do it in Oklahoma, they split up that Class 6A into the 16 largest and then the next 16. And so that's the group that Muskogee won it in. You know, they came up to Rogers a few years ago and did not do well. But they've certainly turned things around with their program and are doing really well. Farmington is playing at Springdale Harbor. Both those teams are looking for a win. Alma's going to be at Siloam Springs. And then games that are not here but involving Northwest Arkansas teams. How about this? Shiloh Christian at Little Rock Christian and Bentonville at Conway. I mean, my goodness, I'd like to be at both of those games. And so there's just going to be a lot to kind of keep an eye on this week. And, you know, from here on out, I think that's going to be kind of the typical. And there's going to be just so much that we can talk about. And I'm just looking forward for Friday to get here. So, we're going to take another break, and when we come back, Leland and I will go through who you got in our games this week. I wish Rick was here for who you got, and we'll try to pin him down so we can get our standings set, and we'll just have to do that another time, though. So we will be right back.
Get the latest breaking news on all Arkansas Razorback sports at WholeHogSports.com. Our award-winning reporters and photographers go beyond game recaps to bring our subscribers the most trusted Razorbacks news anywhere. With expert analysis, the latest in recruiting, plus unique and compelling stories of your favorite teams. Subscribe today at WholeHogSports.com.
And we're back with the Prep Rally Podcast, and it's time for Who You Got. So we're going to roll through several of these high school football games. Not going to count this one toward the standings, Leland, but Treasure Chest Trophy, Cedarville at Mountainburg. Who you got?
Well, I tell you, Cedarville coming off that win is going to be good. Really good for them. I think Mountainburg having an extra week to prepare, and Ryan Allen is just such a good player. I'm going to have to go the Dragons.
All right. You know what? Who you got? I'll take Cedarville. I know they got the new jerseys and the 2 long touchdown passes last week. I'm going to go in a shutout on defense. I'm going to go Cedarville on that one.
Well, they're dressing for success.
And what a cool trophy, the Treasure Chest. I mean, is there anything better than that?
How about that? All
right. So game number 1 this week, we're going to go to the game, Leland, that you're going to be at, Ozark at Boonville. Who you got?
Well, it's just about all of these are just about a toss-up, but I'm not going to flip a coin. I think that Ozark goes into Boonville and wins that game.
And we are going to be in agreement on that one. I don't see Boonville being able to slow down Ozark this early in the season. If we were talking later in the season, I might think so, but I'm going to go Ozark as well. All right, up here in Northwest Arkansas, in sort of a very interesting matchup, we'll see if the Alma Airedales can regroup for their road trip at Siloam Springs and Doug Lockridge, the former coach and AD. Having covered Siloam Springs a long time, I know it's going to be a great atmosphere. The fans are really excited there. But having watched Alma, I think Alma is going to figure out a way to walk out of Siloam Springs with a close victory. Leland, who you got?
Well, obviously it's a big game for Siloam Springs, especially coming off a win, and then Doug Lockridge being the longtime, coach at Alma and athletic director. I think the Panthers are going to feel a lot of energy in that game and going into that game. But, Israel Towns Robinson last week ran for 196 yards against Van Buren. He caught 3 passes for 40 yards and also had a sack while he played on defense. So I just think that Alma bounces back and wins this game because I'm sure that their practices this week are going to be, very spirited.
I would imagine so. Okay, this is a really fun one. It seems like it's a fun rivalry to be a part of. It's a little bit out of our area, but Harrison is one of our teams, and the Goblins this week are trying to get back off after a loss at Branson. They're going to host the Mountain Home Bombers, and just from the research I've done the last couple of days, Harrison has owned this rivalry the last 11 years. Mountain Home beat them last year, and it was the first time they had won since 2012 in this rivalry. But I'm just telling you, going to Harrison is a different deal. But I'm going to say Mountain Home is going to pick up a win at Harrison Friday night. Leland, who you got?
I think this rivalry kind of flies under the radar a little bit. Now, it doesn't between those two schools, obviously, but I think this is one of the great unknown rivalries in the state, and it goes back a long ways. We don't know the thing about picking games this early in the season with these non-conference games, especially some of the out-of-state games. We don't know how good Branson, Missouri is, but they held Harrison to one touchdown. I think Mountain Home they've been trending upwards the last several years, and I think they continue to go that direction with a win at Harrison on Friday night.
How about that? On the banks of Crooked Creek. Okay, over in Northwest Arkansas, the Cabot Panthers are making a trip to Bentonville West. Both teams are 0-1. Leland, who you got on this one?
Well, this is the one kind of which team is able to bounce back. Cabot scored 13 points. They were within, if you say within, 34-13 at the half. And then Fayetteville put the game away with 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. And then Bentonville West, they put up some offense, quite a bit of offense against Greenwood on Friday night. So I just think that Bentonville West is the team out of this in the kind of the bounce back bowl. I think they're the ones that bounce back and get the win.
I agree with you, going with Bentonville West at home in a large part because they're going to be at home and ready to that's a tough trip for Cabot to make. And here's a really good one. Fayetteville at Broken Arrow. Broken Arrow with an impressive win against Springdale Harbor last week. I'll go first on this one on who you got. I'm going to take the Fayetteville Bulldogs to go over to Broken Arrow and win a close one, score a lot of points, but they're going to get it done. Who you got, Leland?
Well, I'm not sure who's going to win the game, but I'm sure that it's going to go a long time. Last week, Broken Arrow beat Harbor 42-21. Broken Arrow had 71 offensive plays for 567 yards of offense, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns. And then you got, Fayetteville, obviously the Garrett Odom debut went very well, but Cabot, in nearly the quality, at this point of Broken Arrow, I'm going to have to go Broken Arrow in this one and, again, go Boomer Sooner.
Okay. Another Arkansas versus Oklahoma matchup, Muskogee, Oklahoma at Rogers. We'll let you lead this one off, Leland. Who you got?
Rogers again, 43-0 win at North Little Rock, but North Little Rock is just right now just having a lot of troubles. North Little Rock had 25 yards rushing in the game, 29 passing. So Rogers only gave up 54 yards of offense in that game. We don't really know, the quality of competition that they went up against last week. Obviously, Jeff Regan has stepped into that quarterback role and has done very well. But Muskogee, defending state champs, supposed to be very good again. Again, Boomer Sooner. I got to go with Muskogee.
All right. And something about the Mounties playing at home. Jeff Regan, like you mentioned, I like Rogers in this one. I think Rogers is going to surprise some people in this conference. Everybody thought last year would be their year to do it. Maybe it's going to be this year, as long as they stay healthy. I'm going Rogers. So this one's going to be a lot of fun. Springdale at Van Buren at Blakemore Field in Van Buren. That place is going to be rocking. They have such great school spirit over there. Springdale with the big win over Little Rock Central. You know, I'm going to go with the Springdale Bulldogs to go 2-0 get a win over Van Buren with that offense led by senior quarterback Jack Pounders. Give me Springdale Bulldogs. Who you got, Leland?
Well, and like you said, the Van Buren, boy, the students section is just they put on such a great show at all the events that they have, but especially basketball and football. I think we saw a glimpse of what they can do late in that win against Alma, and just the tenacity that they showed and to come back and win that game. I think they feed off that momentum this week, and they've got a lot of weapons too on both sides of the ball. And I'm going to go with the Pointers in this one.
Van Buren, I like it. That would be a great game to be at down there in Van Buren this week.
Especially since I picked Alma to win last week.
Yeah. Our last game to pick is going to be Bentonville at Conway. And Leland, I'll let you start us off on this one. Who you got?
I was very impressed by Bentonville's loss, Tulsa Union, 42-35 overtime. Tulsa Union will be the best team Bentonville faces this season. And they were able to take that game into overtime. Tulsa Union did have 542 yards of offense. Bentonville, again, was very balanced. They ran the ball well. Another Ficklin is in the lineup, ready to go. I think Bentonville goes to Conway and wins this game, even though, I know Conway's has state championship aspirations, but so does Bentonville. So I think Bentonville can go to Conway and get the win.
Well, and I think Bentonville's going to go down there and give Conway it's going to be a fantastic ball game. Like we said, I'd like to be there as well for that one. But Conway is my pick to win it all in Class 7A. At John McConnell Stadium down there, I'm going to have to go with the Conway Wampus Cats to take down the Bentonville Tigers. Man, that's a good slate of games for who you got, Leland. That was fun. All right, well, that'll wrap us up for this week's Prep Rally podcast. You can listen to the Prep Rally podcast at nwaonline.com or wherever you get your podcasts. For Leland Barclay in the River Valley, hello to Rick Fires. Hope you're feeling better, my friend. And we will definitely be excited to get back next week and talk about all these great games that we just predicted. And we'll see you next week. We love you.